Hello everybody, it is Huda the Goddess here, and I am so excited to be a part of WOW, Australia's digital playlist, and it is always an honor and a humbling thing to be on Yagara and Turrbal land and to share my work. I am a spoken word poet, and I'm super passionate about being a part of WOW because it stands for everything that is big and is important to my job, which is advocating for women, advocating for women's rights, and destroying the patriarchy, which has stopped us from being the versions of ourselves that we are supposed to be, and taking back autonomy and making choices that are best suited for us. So to be a part of this digital playlist is an absolute honor, and I'm excited to be able to share my work and have it be brought to your home in video form, and to be able to get your feedback and to know that I'm writing a story for you, with you, and almost kind of by you. So yeah, to give you a bit of context about my work, I'm an educator, and besides being a spoken word poet, a big part of my job is advocating and teaching people about the intersectionality between race and gender, and how important it is for Black women that are in these spaces to be able to have these conversations, because we cannot leave our race at home and just show up as a woman. That these things are close and connected and make up our story. So I wanted to start this digital playlist by sharing a poem and an affirmation to Black women everywhere. So this is a tribute to First Nations women everywhere, and also, Black women everywhere, to acknowledge the hardship and the particular struggles that we face around the world, and is a constant reminder of what we go through, and that we are revolutions, we are the heartbeat of progress, and that deserves to be acknowledged. Dear Black women, these are your affirmations for today. Remember that your hair is this world's oldest library, and every strand is a book packed with chapters of our ancestors' story, that your skin is the only stage the sun has desired to ever be on, and every time you awaken, it is excited to place itself on your skin. Your voice is a siren before armies come, the lullabies that rest our worries as the world turns and continues to be a fight for survival. Your hands have always been the resting bays between battles, and where we come to feel human again. Your footsteps are like drums awakening Gaia to witness our creations. You continue to nurse the world while it continues to neglect you. Dear Black women, you are more than your pain. In spaces like this, I think it is my duty and obligation to remind people that when we are advocating for women and the struggle of women everywhere, is to acknowledge that Black women have a specific struggle, that if you are a feminist and if you are in support of women globally, that our race impacts our story, and that is not something that we can separate from our existence. So it was super important for me to start that poem and to hopefully encourage conversation around misogyny and what that looks like in the Australian context. This next poem is, oddly enough, not about a specific topic. And whenever I write to empower young women, young Black women, and women in general, my job, I always say, as a spoken word poet, a Black woman who's traveling, is to keep the door ajar open for women that are to come. And now that I feel like I'm in rooms where I am keeping the jar open once I walk in, the next step is actually there needs to be somebody there that looks like you once you walk into that space, that recognizes the struggle and strife for your pain. And I wanted to write a collection of poems that reflected my experience as a woman and operating with men, and then in I guess considering what is happening around the world for women, and it continues to be the struggle. I wanted to write a poem about what happens when we forget the impact of dangerous men around the world that are harming women, and the conversations we're not having about that on a very baseline level as a collective, not just women, because women are having these conversations every day, but the rest of the world needing to join that conversation and really tune in. So this poem is called Scarecrow. And it's my story, but I think it's also a lot of women's story. And it's not about a specific thing, but it's about the imprint and the impression that harmful people leave on women that are just trying to exist. She has become a scarecrow with stitched lips and a crooked mouth, her arms wide open and fists clenched. She cries hard enough to drown an ocean. And all the world can do is remind her that her cries is her creating an echo chamber that gives her pain a place to dance in. That this pain lives in her blood, which is why she has always had the urge to drain it out. And this pain tells her that it can't be silenced, that it has cut her chest open and made a home in her ribs, that this feeling of an upset stomach is pain tattooing itself on her ribs and refusing to be forgotten. And the only thing she wants to do is cut out these hand imprints and fill the gaps with skin from her mouth, because her smile doesn't matter anymore. She's confused on when her skin became an invitation for hands, when her body decided to betray her, when her throat went mute and her hands stopped being able to grip, when her feet forgot how to hold her up, when her eyes tried to blind her, because blurred vision seemed safer than being able to see everything clearly. She has started to hate mirrors, because all of their hands are part of her reflection, that even her shadow shies away from her because it's afraid of the darkest places she's been into, that this pain has a scent, that it's her new perfume, and that she hates how good her memory is, that how you've made her hate herself and turn her body against her, and she wish she could take this pain to court, but she will never get justice even there. But I don't think that's ever been her story. It's the way she's turned her scars into beautiful murals, her smell into a siren that lives in her, how she has learned to stop loving herself in just the light and started to enjoy candles in dark spaces, how she's healed with her chest open and the sight of worms trying to fester her happiness, how she stopped her body from being a playground or an exhibition for this world's imprints. The story has never been about just pain. It's about healing flesh and asking flies to relocate themselves to somewhere new because she is still alive. And that speaks volume. This poem is dedicated to the women who are still learning to love themselves in the midst of the world hating them, to the ones making friends with the person in the mirror, to the ones who have drowned their pillows with their own tears, to the ones that can't even speak their story out loud, to the ones who have torn diary pages and thrown them in bins. You are valid. And the story is important. And pain isn't what makes us great. It is our way to heal and turn scars into beautiful roses with colors. It is always an honor to be amongst other women and to be inspired and to support. And my job as Huda the Goddess isn't just to share truth and stories. It's to advocate and elevate the stories of women around the world. To the beautiful goddesses and queens watching this, remember that you are beautiful, that you are important, that you are worthy, and that I'm an honor to be able to be capsuled in a small frame and be brought to your home. It is Huda the Goddess. Wow, Digital Playlist 2022. It's good to see you.